CalazCon is a show about war, obsession, colonialist occupation, and the many forms of violence those inflict. See the description for content warnings specific to this episode.
Dorian might not actually be Laird's first pick for a successor.
Dorian is a very stressed out individual.
The question is, how hard are we burying this?
All the way.
Do you ever pull that stick out of your ass?
Not unless I need to hit someone with it.
Azara is going to try to acquire a spaceship. The few and far between.
So then, we jump quite a ways into the future, a whole 11 months. So we're now going to talk about what each character is doing in a year. If we think that you all are still together as a squad in a year, this might require a little bit of table talk first, just to be like, where are we? Or we could keep it a little bit, vague in terms of like, they're just battlefields we see. It's up to you all. But, yeah. Where are we thinking you all are a year in?
Okay, first question. Is Dorian still alive?
We still have to do year 5 yet. Don't kill anybody yet. If you want to kill him at the end of this scene, okay, fine.
It says if a character dies before or during the epilogue, the questions about what they're up to years later can instead be about how they've affected the people they knew.
Yeah. I'd want to see it.
Just saying.
I don't want us to come in on Dorian's funeral. We're not doing that.
We all met up for Dorian's funeral.
Yeah, we're not doing the end of Parks and Rec or whatever. Come this way, Mr. President.
Red's the president now.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, God.
Of Jovengel somehow. Jovengel became a... No. Definitely not. Austin would not be okay with us just being like, yeah, so Jovengel's a democracy and Red's the president.
I mean, that's one way to spread democracy through the galaxy.
Red's actually the God King president. Thank you very much.
God Emperor Red.
Yeah, just wife up with the royalty and change all the laws.
Yeah.
Playing the game. Do we think we're together a year?
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, I think so.
I think.
Yeah.
How long? Again, time is crazy.
Yeah.
How long were we? Was like in the fiction of CalazCon, the show.
Yeah.
How long were we sort of fighting this fight?
It was a minimum of 5 weeks that like the camera saw this.
Mm-hmm.
That's at an absolute minimum. It could have been more like months.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about how at the start with our first mission, like PizZA had already kind of done a few things and had spent a little bit of time, like getting established.
Totally.
A year also feels like a long enough time where we have been reassigned somewhere else.
Right.
Yes.
And are that's not that long in the grand scheme of things. So I like the idea of us still being together.
Yeah. What do we think is interesting as like co-authors here? Do we think it's cool if like this is another front with Jovengel, so we get more of that? Or do we think that this is interesting if like this is a front with somebody totally different, like that theology faction? I don't remember the name.
Oh yeah. It'd be interesting to see.
I kind of like the idea, and this is actually it's a little grim in the way that military stuff is grim, but like
Sure.
the DFS kind of using PizZA as like a, they drop us in somewhere and we cause some chaos and then we leave.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we've actually seen like several like quick flashes of you on different battlefields.
Yeah. A bunch of different like topographies and web, there's like a snow planet, classic sci-fi stuff.
Yeah. One biome per planet.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm into that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, same.
Okay. So a year in, we can be, we can look at several different fronts potentially here.
Yeah.
I would say one thing I'm kind of curious about this setup, how much time is spent actually fighting and how much time is spent hanging out on the spaceship in transit, right?
Yeah. I imagine the bulk of the time is in transit.
Yeah.
Come in, fuck shit up, and then get out.
I could imagine it's similar, like this becomes, like Logel becomes the model, where it's like, okay, we're gonna leave him somewhere for a month, and then they're gonna spend months getting to the next place, and then they're in the next place for a month, and then so on and so forth.
That's so and like that's so interesting because it's like periods of really being quite bored.
Yeah.
And then periods of intensive, like awful violence.
Yeah.
That would be very stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for people with ADHD, because they can hyper focus on something for a few weeks before they lose interest. And
Sure. That's so interest.
yeah, that's
Black Ops.
Murder.
My special interest is the Isian conflict this month.
Yeah. I feel like with that kind of rhythm, the group would either get significantly closer, or just be absolutely done with everybody's shit.
Sure, and it doesn't need to be the same across, right?
Yeah.
Like some of you could have gotten closer. Some of you could have been like, "Yeah, I'm thinking I this is not the life for me long term."
Well, I think Laren is a general ship captain. I haven't talked about it a whole ton, but I feel like he probably has spent, originally was from the Navy, right? Is probably already pretty used to and adjusted to this.
Right.
So I think for the most part, he's probably fine. And, as long as he got Memo around, happy as a clam.
Right.
So
let's zoom in a little bit. Do you think Laren is actually happiest in those in between, like the travel months?
I think so. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense because, we talk about how he is, he is genuinely very concerned with making sure that, everybody gets home, and everybody is safe and that he does right by the people in his squad.
Totally.
And so only having to have that wait 2 months out of the year probably does a ton for his mental health.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense that he would be happiest during the transit periods.
Sure. I mean, I think even the transit periods, right, are probably not perfectly safe. You're still moving from one front to another.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're probably in a situation where if it's 1 month at a place, 3 months of transit, that first month of transit is probably still getting potential attacks from the front.
Yeah.
And that middle month, you might be in core DFS space. And it's all right, this is chill. You might even stop some places. You might do some, catching up. Maybe, Dorian gets to meet his mom's up somewhere. And then the next month, you're back at another front, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get just a snapshot of in the quiet month, right? What's Laren spend his time doing?
Well, I remember way back we did have, God, what was it with Topo that asked Laren so what the heck are your hobbies? What do you do anyway? And he just did not have an answer.
Uh-huh.
I think the first month is him like primarily through memo, like going, I don't want to say like vision quest, but like like deep exploration of like, what is my hobby going to be?
Wait, does he pick a new one every time he's traveling?
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh god, that would be amazing.
And he spends the first month just vision boarding which hobby he's gonna
Yes. Yes.
Oh my
Googling
god.
hobbies for normal people Reddit 2024.
Exactly.
All right, I have this archived version of Reddit that I searched to find my new hobbies. It's from the ancient times of 2024.
Yeah, so like, you know, like after one random stop, like a month in, just like a corner of the ship is now like filled with sourdough starters or something.
Oh my god! Oh, it smells
like,
awful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then like after the first mission, 3 months later, sourdough starters are like completely gone. It's the saxophone instead.
Oh no, Bill Clinton Laren. I mean, it's not just you four on the ship, right? Like, you have Laren's fire teams, at least, right? You probably have, like you four are probably functionally, like, officers, right? Mm-hmm. And you probably have a bunch of other people within the squad, both, like, technical people, but also, like, soldiers that report to you, etc., right? Mm-hmm.
Also, Split Second, maybe.
And Split Second for sure sticks with y'all.
Yeah.
Split Second came to CalazCon, or came to Legel for CalazCon. Like, they have no connection to the planet.
Oh god, I just thought of that. So like, how often does CalazCon happen? Was it every 3 years?
Oh, that's a great question.
Oh,
because that could actually be relevant.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think I'd have to look up some of these setting details before started GMing today.
Oh. It also, while you're looking that up, it also kind of feels like, given that the last CalazCon
went so
ended with a giant planet-killing mech.
I mean, honestly, like, the planet-killing mech, right? Like, think about it from the CalazCon people's perspective, right? Like, they were putting on a show. I think they did it, right?
Yeah.
They put on the biggest show that they possibly could. And from that perspective, like, it wasn't, it wasn't canon compliant. Right? But like, it was still really really something.
God.
And I imagine even the most level-headed CalazCon fan, not on Legel, would see, drone footage of this thing and be like, that's kind of sick.
Exactly.
Okay,
right?
but no, this was probably like the most controversial CalazCon that they like debate for a decade. Like, this is like sequel Star Wars levels of like fandom salt. Yeah. Between like, wow, that was a really good fireworks show, people, and the wasn't canon. Didn't follow the canon, neckbeards.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, it's every 5 years. So that's great.
Every 5 years.
Because
perfect.
that's our next step is every 5 years. So
yeah.
Okay. So we get Laren going through several different rounds of hobbies over the next year. That's great. Anybody else has a where are they now a year in? How's your character doing?
I mean, I think for Dorian at least, I think they've kind of doubled down on the riskiness of it. And they get a little bit argumentative sometimes with Laren on the calls as well, just like how to approach a mission.
He's all grown up and a teenager now.
He's they're 20-something.
Starts playing My Chemical Romance every time they head off to the bunks. They essentially want to complete the objective and then complete the next objective before it even pops up.
Sure.
They're trying to get better at scraping information. He wants to basically try to keep his job, essentially. He's trying to improve his standing, I think is the best way to put it.
Interesting. So are you saying that he's basically looking to, like, trying to solve problems before they're problems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to get that S+ rank.
Exactly.
Who specifically? Like, can we zoom in on, like, an instance of this happening? Like, who specifically are you looking to impress? Because it sounds like it's not Laren.
I think it's trying to go to whoever is above Antonia Pie.
Yeah, sure, totally.
Or maybe it's the person Antonia Pie talks to at the previous point, like before we did this cut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, that's something to establish. Do we still have Antonia Pie with us?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that you probably have a new CO. And it might be that, like, I mean, your CO probably is not on the ship with you, right? That was kind of a weird thing, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I suspect what's happening is that, like, Laren is now in meetings with somebody, like, gets the hologram messages, right?
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I could easily see, like, Dorian, you know, what do you think this looks like? Like, is this Dorian, like, submitting reports, which are like, yeah, so I did that objective, and also I did XYZ as well.
I think, yeah, it's a little bit of, I hate to say it, but it's a little bit of Dorian going, teacher, I did extra credit.
Sure.
Right.
It's like CCing Laren's boss.
Oh my
it's emailing
God.
Laren and then CCing
Oh,
Laren's
yeah.
boss.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's awful. I like that.
Love the phrase, yeah, that's awful. Go with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's tabletop games, baby. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so like, what was this one? This one we're zooming in. Okay, actually, here's a question. Pause on what I was just doing. The few and far between. Does that become like when you land somewhere? Is that your fob as well?
I have to build it out a little bit. It'd get real cramped if we had all the like military facilities in there too.
I mean, I could figure that like Belladonna's whole thing, right, was like that we saw her doing was she built a resonance cannon that was going to snap into something bigger. So what if she set up the few and far between so that it was this like modular thing that could like snap into bigger bases or like have things put on it and taken off?
That's really good.
That's super cool.
So you like landed on a planet and then you like local stuff there, you like snap onto it and you take it off before you leave.
Is like part of the mission cycle, like while we're back in DFS territory, we like stop by and get the new like package upgrade.
Oh yeah,
We have to download the new OS.
Yeah, poor Azara his situationship like twice a year.
So yeah, I love the idea of like, yeah, there's like, you get met in the middle of deep space, right? Like no planets nearby. And there's basically like the space equivalent of like a freighter truck, right? That just meets you out there and snaps additional pieces onto your ship.
That is cool.
It's like, oh hey guys, we have a pool for the next 2 months. We have a pool,
and we're masquerading as a pool sales place now.
Jet skis.
Yeah,
Jet skis.
Yeah, and then you open up the orders like the pool is there because you're going to be doing underwater missions, infiltration.
Get ready.
Learn to hold your breath for 5 minutes by the time you reach the objective.
Oh my god, what a nightmare. Yeah, that is probably what it's like.
But hey, can also chill on the pool with an artificial sun.
Yeah, true. So let's zoom in. So this is Dorian, like back at the few and far between in whatever bizarre configuration you want it to be in, right? Like having done something. What did Dorian do?
I'm imagining Dorian was looking into. I imagine this was like another off-planet rotation, and it was we just need you to put a tracking bug on this one person's car.
Sure.
We don't need you to kill them. We don't need you to kill anyone. Just put a bug on this person's car and watch how they move. And Dorian just says, so we put a bug in their car. But also I stole the USB drive that they kept on them, and it had these plans, and I followed these plans, and it turned out I actually went to this.
Okay, so this is a lot of... It sounds like this is more gathering information, right? Like, it's not like Dorian goes ahead and, like, blows up a thing because of this. It's not going that far off mission.
Yet.
Yes, okay, all right. Okay, so this is Dorian writing up that email and hitting send with Laren on in the 2, and then Laren's unnamed boss in the CC.
No, this works perfectly, because, like, Laren, Mr. Corkboard himself,
Sure.
absolutely would, like, engaged in this behavior quite a bit over this campaign.
Yeah. Oh no. Dorian's doing this and like trying to get one over Laren, and Laren's just like, yeah, this is great.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, bud.
Thank you, boss.
Oh my god. Laren does not notice at all that like the boss is CC, just like, that's weird. Anyway, corkboard time.
Oh, hey, this saves me having to send an email. Perfect.
Yeah, I hate sending email. Oh man. Topo or Azara, what do y'all think? Where y'all at?
I think Topo is like, like gets really into like learning to play like Go.
Oh, okay.
Or just like I feel like I got the shooting people down part down pretty well. I think it's time to like look inside a little bit and just kind of like kind of uses like that or like some sort of like puzzles or something like as kind of a meditation almost.
Who's he playing Go with?
Oh, Split Second for sure.
Incredible. What if
they just destroy me for like the first like 9 months until I finally like get a little like, oh yes, very good.
I don't know if Topo would agree to it, but I think Laren would try to pull the same thing he did in the last downtime, where he would try to get Memo involved and get her like into the league.
Mm-hmm. So for the league of two people.
Here's what I was.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people on the ship.
Oh, true. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What if this starts a like Go league on the ship?
A little competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Everybody has ELO ratings, and like everybody's tracking each other's ELO ratings.
Absolutely. Laren can make this one of his hobbies for a month.
Never thinks about it again.
But like everybody gets really into it, and like when there's going to be a big match, like Split Second versus Memo. Oh, this is going to be a huge match. It's going to totally change the rankings. Everybody gets really into it, and like all goes watch.
This isn't my scene, but Azara is walking around taking bats off of people.
Oh, good. I feel like Topo's probably fine with that.
Yeah.
I cut him into it.
Yeah. No, hold on. Well, now hold on, because now the scene's changing. Are Azara and Topo fixing Go matches?
Definite hustle.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll leave it to you, but I think Azara thinks that he's fixing Go matches. But...
So wait, hold on. Topo got into Go initially. If we're following the sequence over this year, as like this,
that's kind of an introspective kind of thing. But then you
instrumentalize this meditative practice for profit.
It's just a different kind of meditation, really.
Oh, okay.
Look, wellness comes in many forms.
Oh my god. That's wild. That is a wild thing to be doing.
Stealth pros for life. I don't know what you want.
Stealth pros.
But is this so? Like, then I love this. I love all of this. But I wanna dive into the impulse that led you there, Mark. So like, if you think that Topo is like, even if that happens with the Go games,
right?
Is Topo sort of consistently looking at like self-improvement stuff? Or like
yeah. I think even like after the league takes off, like they're still doing that kind of thing, because that's kind of
right
what they're. Because I think they've been so focused on like externalities and like how can I complete this task? How can I do this thing? How can I get this guy.
Does Topo start therapy?
I mean, basically, maybe that's Split Second's job.
Oh my god!
Like, best therapist ever.
I am a licensed therapist, yes.
Split Second would do that pop psychology shit where they'd be like, okay.
All right, now we're going to have you wear this virtual reality helmet and have you climb up on a big tall building and stare down in virtual reality. This is supposed to help with stress, I think.
But it does work, unfortunately. Okay, all right. So yeah, so Topo's working on themselves.
Yeah.
Do we get is there in this sort of year on span? I mean, anybody who's actually done therapy knows that it's not like, oh my god, I did therapy and I'm cured, amazing, right? It is increasing, sequences of revelations and deeper understanding. But is there a moment there? Is there a moment of Topo recognizing something about themselves or their past behavior, about how their horrible trauma has impacted them? Do we get anything?
Yeah, and I think it coincides with the first time he gets one over Split Second in a game.
Oh.
And I think it's I found myself in this unit. I followed orders and did the job until together we nailed the guy who did this to me.
Sure.
And now I'm still doing the same job. And it's less I think they're questioning the motivation for doing this, because it's always just been when I was a kid I joined this gang because they happened to be there, and then I got grabbed by these guys and that's what I had to do, and then this bounty hunter came along and I just kind of went along with him, and now I kind of go along with this group. And I think the moment where they sort of turn the tables in the game, that's when they're like, oh, maybe I should have a plan for myself.
I had a plan in this Go game and it worked pretty well.
Yeah. I had a goal before, but I didn't really have a plan. So I think that's the revelation there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Topo starts being okay, Topo's gonna have a 5-year plan now. That's great.
Tell me how that vision board thing works.
I'm going to Laren.
Oh, no.
I brought my own string. Now, does it have to be red? Incredible. Really good stuff. Okay, and then Azara, actually, is our last one for this round.
I think Azara has been in the sort of downtime, in the quiet moments between traveling from place to place. The zoom in that I want to get is the squad leaving a planet. The few and far between was a ski chalet. And so we're leaving the planet, we're in orbit, little downtime.
Right.
Sees a report, or sees a Joe Evangelion announcement.
Sure.
Of Sabriel getting the equivalent of the Nobel Peace Prize or something.
Sure, yeah.
And just really hurts to the bone.
Right.
It's awful, it's bad. It's nothing I can do about it at this point.
Right.
Sabriel is a war hero.
Yeah.
But what they always wanted, and they got it.
Yeah.
So that's bad. And sees that on, I'm imagining sort of a data pad or a phone or something.
Totally.
Flips that by, has a message from Belladonna. Hey, you all come into the station to get help. I'll help you all get reimagined. You're not going to be a ski chalet anymore. You're going to be a beach cocktail resort or something. And thanks to back and forth. Definitely, I think somebody described it as a situationship. I think that's very funny.
Yeah.
And then I think what Azara is actually doing is I don't know if any of you all have moved to a new city. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I do sometimes when I've moved to a new city is look at the equivalent of the local subreddit or
sure
local newspapers, or finding places. Azara is doing that for Themis, his home planet.
Oh.
He's slowly starting to piece together what his home planet actually is like.
Yeah.
And it started to reach out to people and like make connections with people virtually. Because eventually he wants to go back and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And is kind of hoping that maybe, isn't there's a part of him that kind of hopes in a gross way, like, oh, well, like, that's a Jovangelian planet, but like the war keeps trucking. Maybe we'll get assigned there, and I think I think that'll probably happen just because I like that image.
Yeah, no, totally.
But I think at the moment he's kind of like one of the drive clocks that I thought about having Azara do was like establish like a Themis diaspora.
Sure.
And I think he's starting to do that kind of informally, just like going on chat rooms and messaging businesses and things like that.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that a lot. Anything else in this sort of time period, 1 year in?
I guess I am a little bit curious. I don't know necessarily if it has to be like a full scene, but I guess what is kind of like the status of Memo after this year? I assume she's still kind of the one openly calling shots.
Yeah, sure.
But like, I don't know, how does the rest of the squad kind of respond to that?
If I can just, before everybody else gives a perspective on that, we did see Dorian, passing reports through Laren.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe what's happened here is that Laren has become the Antonia Pi.
Okay, yeah.
Is still somewhat in the field, but is mostly running the FOB and coordinating. And moment to moment, mission command is on Memo.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I feel like this setup, for the first 3 months where it was like that, was kind of rocky.
Sure.
Where Laren was still, trying to, call on Memo to help with his job as well.
Sure, yeah.
But, it's mostly a people person job, and I feel like Laren eventually manages to get good enough at that he finally finds a way to, after a few months, stand on his own 2 legs and not necessarily need Memo's help all the time.
Good. Good for him. Good for her. It also gives you two, some distance, but also embeds Memo more within everybody. There's not a single person, which suggests we might also come back to your drive.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe what we're learning here is you succeeded, but not in the way you thought. Because now it's not a successor. One person who's responsible. One person who, if they're cut off, Memo is adrift. Now it's a squad. The squad is Memo's sort of person.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Well, and that makes sense too, right? Because, we talked about it's not just us on the few and far between, but it's there's I imagine almost the scale of our operations at times mean each of us each of us has a squad.
Right.
And so, I think all of us are kind of moving in, where it's the curse of competency is that we're getting promoted.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that's a good place for Memo to be at 1 year in. Anybody else who we want to check in on or sort of hear from in this year? Okay. In that case, our next and our final sort of set of scenes or snapshots here is what happens 5 years in. Where is everybody 5 years after the events of the end of CalazCon? But there's one other thing I have to say here. Because, as it turns out, one of the other squads spent a whole bunch of drive clocks to have a change in the faction. So, due to the efforts of a clandestine organization calling themselves the Wild Hunt, the DFS splinters into two separate factions in between the 1 and 5 year sort of time jump. There's one that completely divests from experimentation on people. Topo, I think it's particularly relevant for you.
Uh-huh.
And the other that fully invests into it. So,
which one is the legacy one that technically pays our checks?
I mean, that's a discussion, right? Again, this is something I don't want to decide.
I mean, is it like a mutually agreed, both sides go their own separate ways,
No,
or
I
is it
think
like
this is-
it's like a revolution type thing, right?
Yeah, I think this is like Civil War-esque,
Right.
quiet Civil War-esque at least.
So, assumedly, we're already technically part of the military
oh, for sure.
of whichever side is not revolting, right?
Well, that's assuming you all are even still in the military.
Okay, yeah, that is true. Yeah.
5 years in, some of y'all could retired, right? This could have been that's the thing I want.
I guess that is true, yeah.
Like,
wait, shit, they just let you do that in this in this universe?
So, right, so like, to give you a sense, right, like, a number of the other squads who've already gone have had things like 5 years in, one of their people now has like a training academy that they run, or like this person has a business, or this person's running like a freedom fighters thing, right? Like, we had a year, sort of for some of you, a horrible year at least, where you were doing this sort of job. I don't think we need to assume that you're doing this sort of job 4 more years in, especially when the intergalactic conflict will have changed so much with like DFS space splintering down the middle, assumably. So I think you can think big, and I think you should think big in terms of like 4 years after we last saw that character, right? Like 4 years into Topo's 5-year plan, right? Like, where is everybody? And the answer could totally be like, I stick with it. Like, other people might not, but like maybe a character does. And they're doing the same job, and that's sort of its own bitter end, right? But Jake, it sounded like you
have an idea.
Yeah, please.
I sort of alluded to this a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I want to be very clear, is that I think, a few years in, Zara comes up with this plan. He gets Belladonna to build him a smaller spaceship in secret.
Oh.
I think he tells everybody what his plan is. He's not like,
sure.
This is not a disappear in the night, never see you again. This is like, I'm gonna go. I can't keep doing this. And
at this point, you're a commissioned officer, right? Like,
right.
You could be honorably discharged. Like, you could make a call here that Azara like chooses to be dishonorably discharged, like chooses to just like go AWOL. But like, there's a way here. You have your pick, right?
Ooh. Okay. I have a suggestion then, because I do kind of like the idea of being dishonorably discharged.
Yeah, please.
There is in this sort of splinter, in this infighting.
Yeah.
There is a moment where Azara is tasked with leading a group back on his home planet.
Okay.
To lead an infiltrator group, a ghost squadron, to go assassinate the president of this country to like destabilize it so that we can go in. And Azara says, "Yeah, sure," and then just completely abandons that.
Right.
Says, "I'm not doing that. Absolutely not."
Okay. So this
I was considering having Topo doing something similar, and I think it would be super
Stealth
fun.
Bros?
Yeah. So I get on that mission with you, and then we use like whatever secret op skills that we share you have to just like scrub our identities from.
Hell yeah.
We never existed. Like, only the people who worked with us knew it, and they can tell stories about us doing whatever. Like, officially, like, our names are nowhere, and we just settle down on your home planet and like start a farm.
Yes, let's go. Okay. I love this. Here's my plan. This spaceship, much like the other spaceship, can materialize into something, but I think Azara liked the idea of it being like a beachside tiki drink bar.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
That is set up not on a beach, because I don't think this is a beach place.
No.
I just, sets up like a little shop.
Right.
Yeah, love it.
The sort of bittersweet part of this is that, like, I think, Topo and Azara get to be stealth bros for life. I think that's great. I think the bitter part of this is that like Themis is completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
For the worse, in some cases for the best, but like he doesn't know anybody here anymore.
Right.
The house that he grew up in, like, is now a shopping center or something.
Yeah.
I think there's moments where he feels content because obviously this is like, a much less stressful life, but there's also that kind of like restless leg syndrome a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you two fully out of the game? Or is this
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
we never existed. Like as far as whichever factions.
Totally.
Not interested in the Civil War. Just like we're getting out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
That rules.
That's more of a like Topo at least. That's more of a like, oh, like we're gonna stick with the side. They're gonna throw us around. It's like, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go open a little shop with my bro.
Yeah,
that's my plan.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. That rules.
All right. Yeah, that's phenomenal. So Topo wrote down a 5-year plan, and year 4 was I'm gonna run away with Azara.
Yeah. We're gonna build up resources. We're gonna get all our stuff, and then we're gonna like hit the erase button and then get the fuck out of town.
Incredible.
Was this year 4 mission that they bailed on? Was this like a pizza mission, or was this like an unrelated thing that they got assigned to?
It's a
good question.
The way that you pitched it initially, Jake, it sounded to me like Azara and Topo, again, kept on being successful, kept on getting promoted up. And like, it was you two running this op with a whole bunch of infiltrators.
Right.
And like, DFS Mark II, whatever, DFS A launched you all onto the planet. And then you two are like, well, see ya.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it was I don't really know if pizza, like what pizza exists like in 5 years in.
Right.
But I definitely do think at least Azara would tell Laren and would tell everybody this was happening. Like, hey, come by, but this is I'm not getting into all this.
Totally. And I'd be remiss, my gay little heart would be remiss to ask,
hey,
how romantic does the camera frame you two running a shop together?
I mean, I think it sounds pretty romantic.
Yeah. I think Topo is a little bit ace, but I think there's a lot of. I think the romance is there.
Yeah, I think there's like there's like a I don't necessarily know. I'm not really that interested so much as like, but I definitely think there's a shared mutual understanding and respect and like intimacy there that we don't have with other people.
Hell yeah!
There's only one bedroom in the shack.
We're winning. So it's stealth bros, but then with the LGBT flag after it. Okay, really strong first two. Dorian or Laren? How about you two?
I'm interested to hear Dorian's.
I'm like really thinking about this because like there's 2 paths, and I don't have enough drive clocks right now.
No, you don't.
I think it would take a lot for Laren to not continue on as he has.
Right.
Like the way he would frame it. Obviously, he'd have one of his little meetings, with Memo, be like, one of the "what do we do" meetings. Especially, once Topo and Azara have gone off.
Right.
But like the key factor in his decision making is the two of them have spent at this point like 2 decades trying to build a place for Memo to belong.
Sure.
And depending on how much PizZA, like at that point, still feels like that place, entirely informs, whether he keeps on with it under, like whatever circumstances.
Sure.
Because I don't think Laren really cares enough personally about like the conflict between the 2 DFSs to really feel like risking anything by like deserting to one side or the other.
Sure.
So I feel like that very heavily informs his direction at the end of these 5 years.
Sure. Can I ask you a question, Alex? To you, Alex. What was the question you were going to ask Tempestia?
We actually, this is a thought of mine. I don't know if it's 5 years. I don't know if it's 10 years. I don't know if it's 15 years. I do like the idea of Laren, in some capacity, finding a way to smuggle himself into Jovengel for like a week to go see her funeral whenever she passes away of like assumedly old age, right?
Sure.
And maybe that would be the best time for him to ask his question, because we have been dancing around this for the better part of the second half of this campaign. He has been carrying the belief, is Tempestia noble or cold? Either way, I don't understand her. And that is the underlying question he has for Tempestia. That is like the one thing he still doesn't feel like he fully knows, because every time he thinks he gets an answer, he sees something to the contrary, and what he would ultimately, once and for all, want to finally know about this person.
Yeah. So how about this? How about this is 5 years in, and you hear about it, that Tempestia died, just of, complications, some sort of medical thing. She was at this point probably, 60s, 70s, probably something like that. So a little bit young, especially for space future, but not unheard of.
Yeah.
And you smuggle yourself in, and Memo assumably helps, right? Mm-hmm. But do you think Memo comes with you, or think that's too risky, right? Because there wouldn't be a computer to store her on.
I feel like Laren is sentimental enough that if she asked, he would absolutely say yes. Is there a way that he could just smuggle her in his eye?
Maybe, maybe the tech has gotten good enough. Like,
maybe
that's enough. Like, the eye is no longer, a hologram projector. It's no longer a sort of functioning prosthesis. It's only a server bank, right?
Yeah.
But that's enough where, you could pass it off through any sort of, security check as, no, this is just my prosthetic.
Yeah.
So I think you go to the funeral. It's on the capital planet of Jovengel. And it's this big state funeral. And there's all of these people who, come and give talks. Sebriel is there. Sebriel, who is now a general, is there.
Oh, my God.
Right? There's lots of people giving talks. And none of them give you the answer that you want, right? Because all the speeches are, she was a war hero. She was an inspiration, right? She was deified in her lifetime, right? And now she's dead. And then I think what happens is you go back to, a crummy hotel room or something, somewhere that, somewhere they're not going to keep very good records about who was there, right? And waiting for you in your room is, of course, Tempestia.
Oh my fucking God. Of course.
And I think that, after the initial, probably pointing guns at each other or whatever, I think this turns into a long conversation, right?
Yeah.
And what she basically does is, I don't think she says this, but what you, as Laren, understand after this conversation is, Tempestia fundamentally believes that there are people who are strong and there are people who are weak. But she does not believe that the strong deserve to lord themselves over the weak. She believes that strength is a responsibility that must be used in protection of the weak. And it's a kind of fucked up ideology. And I think that you can, see that in her, right? And, see, oh, but that means you're willing to, take anyone who is strong, willing to, do anything to anyone you think is strong, because they can take it, to protect the people who you have decided are, the weak people who matter, right? But there's also a nobility to it, right? Because she has fundamentally given her life to try to protect others as best she can.
Yeah, God, that's good. Yeah, okay. Give me a second to digest that.
Sure. It's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She's raided the minibar. She's already told you that, like, she's covering the tab, not to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, you can see, like, you know, fireworks going off. Because of course they are, right? They're her fireworks.
Yeah. I think that this does lift something from Laren that has been kind of like resting on his shoulders in a way that he didn't even realize until that talk.
Sure.
Because of the way that they had parted last time, where she had kind of like finally fully won Laren's trust, only to like 5 seconds later completely shatter it.
Yeah.
So I think without like realizing it, he'd been like carrying this question of like the why, and that being the core of, you know, like why he was so, you know, like so desperate to get an answer to that question that he shipped himself behind enemy lines to go attend a funeral.
Yeah.
I think it, for Laren at the very least, brings him back to that place of, you know, like more or less respect for Tempestia, even if maybe he doesn't necessarily agree with that worldview.
Sure.
On paper, like, you know, like, obviously he's kind of operated in the same way, though, where, like, not in the, like, collecting strong people at any cost, but definitely in his efforts to, you know, use authority to shield other people.
Sure.
You know, and understanding the weight of that authority. And so I think there is like enough common ground there that he can once again like reform a begrudging respect for Tempestia.
Sure.
And assuming he's allowed to leave, and I'm assuming he's allowed to leave.
Sure.
He more or less gives her the you know, this was a great talk. I feel way better about this, you know, and like everything that like went down. I still hope we never meet each other again.
Laren, I'm hoping no one meets me again. Tempestia is dead. The war hero is dead. And now I am just a person who gets to live the quiet life a war hero never could.
A lot of people seem to be saying that lately for some reason.
I hope you aren't yet.
No, not yet.
Then I wish you luck.
See, I got a lady of my own I follow, and, you know, I guess in a way, she needs that system to, keep doing what she wants to do. Maybe one day, she'll give me the word. But until then,
I hope when the time comes you find the peace that you need. But until then, that you can do as much good as can be wrung out of this sorry state. And she, like, raises a glass.
Yeah, Laren clinks the glass and goes back to fighting for the people that are all about genetic enhancement.
I mean, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you had been still in that, if you'd gotten onto that side in the split, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a world where, like, this conversation with Tempestia. Also, by the way, I think that side might be the side that, like, Tempestia and Red end up making in some sort of alliance with.
Yeah, that is true.
So it'd be really funny if, like, there was kind of alliance between the sides, so it was okay for you to smuggle yourself in. And then, like, this conversation with Tempestia, and you're like, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm gonna go do the thing that I think is right. But we also don't have to put the camera there.
Yeah, you know, it does. I think it does make sense for him to maybe not do it immediately, but like have the seed placed for like the 6 years down the line, right?
Sure, yeah.
Where eventually he might defect to the other side of the DFS.
Sure. Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. Actually, the better question is which of these sides believe in autonomy for AI?
I mean, probably both, right? Like DFS is actually, you know, the problem for Memo was that she like was a proxy that like no one saw coming, and so like didn't know was a proxy, right?
Yeah.
But I think citizenship is probably in both. Citizenship for proxies.
Then yeah, I think it really depends. I think it also really depends on Dorian as well.
Sure.
As the last person of the squad that may or may not be around.
Sure.
I think if it ends up in a situation where it is just Laren and Memo left, they might, you know, like he might decide to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like if there are still things like anchoring him there, I don't know if he would necessarily abandon all of that, because I feel like those personal ties are a lot more important to him than like matters of policy. Laren the insufferable centrist. Sorry.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it. I've been doing a bit of a back and forth, but I imagine like going 5 years into it, you know, year one, we had a snapshot of Dorian just really trying to go above and beyond the entire time, going over Laren's head in different ways.
Yeah.
And then year two, probably a bit more of that, but then slowly kind of winding down. Year three, just, you got to get to the job, you got to get through the day. Year four, don't know where across the 5 years split happens, but catching eye of that. And just feeling a little bit slower, feeling a little bit more doubtful, because like I'd been fighting for the DFS and now there's two of them.
Yeah.
And then year five, just kind of picking up the phone and calling moms and chatting with them, being asked if I'm coming home for insert holiday dinner here, and telling no, I can't, we're being deployed to this planet because of this. And I think they kind of just look at both sides, and they just I think 5 years down the line, the last bit of like CalazCon merch that Dorian was keeping is finally thrown through the trash on the next transfer.
Sure. I have a suggestion about where that transfers to, what that to is. It's 5 years later. What if you're leading a squad to the next CalazCon?
Ooh.
You have fully become Laren, where Laren was at 5 years earlier.
Is this for the DFS that supports genetic enhancements, or is this for the other DFS?
I think it doesn't even matter, right? Like, it could be either of them, but it's the terrible thing, right? Like, we just heard Laren doesn't have, you know, a strong political bent, right? You were already acting like this is a job. Like, who cares who's signing the checks? Who cares who's giving the orders? What matters is the orders. And you don't even care if it's CalazCon anymore. It's just another mission.
And there's another kid who got assigned there, who was real excited to be at CalazCon as well. And Dorian dismisses them on the first day they see him.
Yes!
Just immediately looks at them, goes to Laren and says, "Get this kid out of my fucking squad."
I don't think it's even you going to anybody. I think you just do it.
Well, to your first day on the job, you're fired.
Yeah.
Go talk to your moms.
We're going to put you on a desk job. How'd you know? They say. How'd you know I have two moms? Takes one to know one, kid.
Yeah.
Look, Calazar produces a very specific audience.
A two mom support group.
Yeah.
That's what the like the meme chat of like the CalazCon discords are called. The two mom support group. That's really good though. Dorian immediately dismissing the kid who's just like them. That's poetry. That's a beautiful final shot for this.
God. I think, it's just not even, all you hear is, you're moving to your next assignment, get off my planet.
Yeah. That's a bit of red in there, too.
It's also like framed in the same way where we first see Dorian on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same. It's framed the exact same way.
Same shot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh.
So let's go down these lists. So Topo, the folks that were doing the experiments to you and those like you, they lost their head, but they have continued. And in fact, we've seen this new faction.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably stronger than ever, right? Like, this probably grew into that in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
We have Azara. Sebriel did not die. Bad End Christmas Carol did not die. But lived on, became a war hero, became the new Tempestia, right? Deified within his lifetime. Exactly what he always wanted. But you've moved past that. Dorian, your moms are never convinced you're okay. Not till not till, they've passed, right? You are a soldier. And you stay a soldier. But Laren and Memo. I think that what we get here is not you found one person for Memo, right? It can't be.
Mm-hmm.
This was not like Memo went off with like Topo and Azara to their like bungalow, right? Like that's not the world we're in, right? What we're getting here is that Memo and Laren become a team in the realest sense of the word. They're not just like a secret duo, right? That's pretending to be a single person.
Mm-hmm.
You're a team and you move through the ranks together. And as you move through the ranks, everybody treats Memo like a person, right?
Yes.
It might be the people doing that are horrible people, but there is never a doubt that Memo has as much agency, if not more sometimes, than you do.
I think that, in a lot of ways, that is enough for Laren to be happy.
We must imagine Laren happy.
We must.
As the credits roll, we can see our names in there now. There's Austin Ramsey. Thanks, Austin, for making the game. We see the shots of our characters. We see Dorian moving past, CalazCon merch, not even turning his head to look. We see Azara and Topo together. We see Laren watching Memo as she gives someone their marching orders. Good game.
Thanks for listening to CalazCon. This episode was edited and sound balanced by Christine Blight. You can reach her for voice acting at cvblight@gmail.com. The show's music is by Devin Nelson. You can find them on all social media at Devin Decibel. If you'd like to support CalazCon, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/CalazCon. Please tell your friends about the show too. Remember, all glory to Calazar.